kids, and he tells them, "You sing blues to lose blues." Um, and then TJ is accompanied by Reverend Lydian Buckley, who is a preacher, a teacher, an activist, a singer of traditional gospel, freedom song, and songwriter. And she's interim minister at the New Hope Baptist Church in Portsmouth as well. So please help me welcome both TJ and Lydian.
Yes. Let's have a nice hand for this gentleman over here, Eve, and the gentleman that was speaking so eloquently and so wisely and so incisively. And I hope y'all were paying attention to what the man was saying, because those are very important words. We got to keep hope alive, but hope and prayers have to be combined with pragmatic tactics, right, to reach our goals. So we got to get ourselves together, because there's some dark forces out there. Yes, indeed. There's a lot of songs, in folk music, in spirituals, in blues, about the role of the stranger. We was often told we have immigrants that came from all over the world that chose to come here. But the stranger in the strange land was really Africans that were brought here against their will and without little cause or explanation, but robbed or sold and stolen regardless. And so this first song is about that wayfaring stranger. And without further ado, let's give wonderful speaker, educator, happens to be a reverend, songwriter, and singer of freedom songs, many of which she's written herself. Let's have a nice hand for Reverend Lillian Buckley.
Thank you. I'm just a poor wayfaring stranger traveling through this world of woe, but there's no sickness, toil, or danger in that bright world to which I go. I'm going there to see my Father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home. I know dark clouds gather round me. I know my way is steep and rough, but beauteous fields lie just beyond me, where souls redeem their vigil keep. I'm going there to meet my Savior. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm just a going over Jordan. I'm just a going over home, over home. That first song kind of speaks to what it feels like to be an African American in northern New England. I was born and raised in Kittery, Maine, and you always felt in class that you were the only one you always were the only one, and you better get used to it and smile and just do it. So you always felt displaced like a stranger, and you always felt like this is not exactly what life is going to always be like. Something's better is coming. This next song talks about that better. When you've got shoes and you can go wherever you want to go, there are no signs where you're off limits. You don't feel like you don't belong. And it's a city called heaven. I got shoes, you got shoes, all of God's children got shoes, my Lord. When we get to heaven, gonna put on the shoes, we gonna walk, we gonna talk all over God's heaven, all over God's heaven. Well, I've got a robe, you have got a robe, all of God's children got a robe, my Lord. When we get to heaven, gonna put on our robes, we're gonna walk, shall walk and run. Oh, we gonna run all over God's heaven, all over God's heaven. Oh, well, heaven, everybody talking about heaven going there. Heaven, everybody talking about heaven going there. Well, we gonna walk and we gonna talk over God's heaven, all over God's heaven. Hey, one more time, heaven, every day, heaven, yes. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. You guys know how to clap out there? Bodies were meant to move. Everybody talking about heaven ain't going there. Well, well, we gonna shout all over God's heaven, all over God's heaven. TJ Wheeler.
Reverend Lillian Buckley, give her a hand. I want to lay down my soul and she, where's that? Down by the riverside.
Down
By the riverside.
down
By the riverside. I want to lay down my soul and she, where's that? Down by the riverside and study. Oh, oh, oh. I ain't gonna study no more. Study no more. I ain't gonna study. Oh, oh, I ain't gonna study that no more. Study that no more. Ain't gonna study. Oh, oh, I'm gonna try on a big wide road. Where?
by the riverside.
Lord followed Moses where he led. Down by the riverside stood it. Oh, no more. I go stood it. Oh, stood it. No more. Stood it. Oh, no more. I go stood it. That boy, I ain't gonna study. Can I get an amen? Can I get an A women? Oh, God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Lillian. And thank you. Our next speaker is a young man who inspires me because of his accomplishment and his age. So, Jonah Wheeler, he's a Convar High School graduate, and now I hear you are at Franklin Pierce. So, please join me in welcoming Jonah.
Thank you. I want to thank Reverend Jackson and TJ Wheeler for their music. Give me a round of applause again. I want to thank Kat for inviting me here today. The city of Keene for letting me speak here, and all of you beautiful people for showing up today. We gather to honor the legacy of a people, human beings who were sold by leaders drunk on greed, forced into boats on chains, stripped of their clothes, their children, their humanity, beaten out of them by men hailing from a nation whose Declaration of Independence guaranteed the freedom of all men, proclaiming their equality. Men who had freed themselves from the tyranny of the British Empire, using human beings as chattel to build a new empire, which would go on to overshadow the former, building wealth and power greater than any nation to ever grace the face of this earth that the slave would never see. Human beings of all ages, broken down into animals by those on the power trip of a generation. Their world reduced into servitude, and after so long, servitude being their world. Generations of children growing up and passing on, knowing nothing other than the horror of their day. 157 years ago tomorrow, after the War for Freedom, 2 centuries of that barbarity, and months after the Emancipation Proclamation, the slaves in Texas were told that they were free. No matter how much the master told the house slave that they were equal to the pig being put on the table, they knew that they were more than that. No matter how much a man was beaten for standing up for his wife, he continued to stand. No matter how often they were told they could not read, they read. No matter the beatings for singing, they sang. Against a machine doing everything it could to dehumanize them in the most violent of ways, they never conceded their spirit, never gave an inch on their humanity. Their will brought them through the darkest of eras, and they found a horizon. Amidst the crack of the whip, they sang. They found community where there was none. Not under the idea that they would one day be free of their chains. In fact, they thought that their chains were forever. Not in revenge nor malice, no. They found a community in love, an unconditional and radical love for one another. Solidarity in the idea that they were in this together. On those hot, humid nights on the plantation, lying outside on the hay, looking up at the stars in their infinite glory, feeling alone, broken, just about to believe what their master told them about the pig when they hear a voice beside them, singing a quiet hymn to themselves. The deep voice of another joins in, the high pitch of a child, another voice, and another, and the other, and you start to feel the urge to sing. But the worries of the day overwhelm you. The desperation of the hour overwhelms you, and you do not. Then your mother grabs your arm, looks in your eyes, and starts to sing. Next thing you know, you join her, and all of those worries, all of those desperate hours, all of the cracks of the whip, everything that they had gone through washes away. And a symphony of love, knowing that they'll be beaten worse come daylight, singing nonetheless, rings out on that farm. The broken voices of all those lonely people coming together in a harmony of resistance. We gather today to enshrine this legacy of love and resilience. This legacy of a people who never allowed their spirit to be shattered by those whose spirit had been twisted so far. We gather to ensure that legacy never fades. We gather to honor freedom, the ability to live how one chooses, to love how one chooses, and to speak one's mind freely, all without restraint. Their freedom was never fully realized, but this is a day of celebration nonetheless, a day of independence for those in chains. As much as they continued to endure the horror of being made out to be less than human, they continued to grow love warriors who would speak truth of a fire with an oppressed people who had had enough. The artists who sang with soul, the prophets who brought us the word of God, the children who reminded us to love without condition, all unwavering in their pursuit to fully realize a new world. As we reflect on the horror of the past, it is important for us to reflect on where we've come since then. Have we yet achieved the freedom owed to us all as a result of being a human being born into this world? I was born and raised here in New Hampshire, hopping from house to house because we could never truly afford a house, going weeks eating scraps, never settling down. My mother worked as many jobs as she could just to keep our nose out of the water and was still drowning. Waking up knowing that you will do nothing today but work, think about work, or pay a bill using the fruits of your labor only to repeat that cycle the next day. On the rare event you get a day off, you're worried about losing time that could be used to catch up on those bills, to catch up on where you've been, to get out of the water. Watching a world with technology from a science fiction novel of the 20th century up and forget about you. Listening to news which is not relevant to you or your struggles. Feeling alone, broken, and made out to believe that this is all there is. Accepting that your life will be lived in the service of another's pursuit for power. Free. Free to use your only spending power to buy a life-saving medicine from someone trying to make a buck off your sickness. Free to give everything you've earned away for the leftovers of those with everything. Your basic needs locked behind a paywall with the twisted smile of oligarchs looking down at you, all while you're made out to be grateful. The sedatives of the modern world, the computer, your phone, the push-to-start car, the widescreen television, the chic clothes, the opioids given out with glee, the weapons, all of it, built off the backs of people you will never see, with harrowing stories you will never hear, put together using the hands of children who know nothing but a smog-filled walk down to the factory floor building objects they will never see. they will never use, for cents that can be only used to feed themselves into the next day. These objects make their way to us on the grandest ships ever to sail the ocean, pumping fuel into our ecosystems, ramming through whales, only to bring you and I our distraction. Those distractions keeping us engaged in this world of enforced fiction. The policies which legalize this horror passed by figureheads elected using the capital of multinational corporations that hold allegiance to no flag. Figureheads who use pretty words and sacred buildings to put on a show of gridlock when it comes to the issue of poverty, while spending nearly all of you and I's tax dollars on funding the most brutal wars that this planet has ever seen, destroying entire regions to gather the oil necessary to fuel the destruction of the next. With no second thought, corporations firebombed the cradle of civilization, subjecting the people who live there to instability that has no end, with no guilt, moving to the next. And as we speak, our tax dollars are being funded to the Saudi regime in its nonstop bombing of Yemen and the starvation of its people. Our military uses siege warfare in Syria to stop any resource from entering the nation. Siege warfare, a medieval tactic used in the Dark Ages to break down a people. All of this under the guise of bringing about democracy. All of this under the guise of freedom. Soldiers who come from poverty here in the United States, told that they can get a better life here if they just join to protect and defend their nation. Sent off to a faraway desert believing you're there to crush an enemy which hates you. Ordered to invade people's homes and seeing the pictures on their wall. The altars, the dinner tables left with food on them. The whole of a drone strike through a child's room. Realizing what you have done and the realities of where you are. Only to come home and be hailed as a hero. All for the behest of corporate oligarchs who seek control, wealth, and power, who care not about you nor the people you are inflicting this pain on, who cares not about what they have done, who cares not about the soldier who comes home to kill themselves after being made to kill other poor people whose struggle echoes their own. My story of a family in poverty feeling less than somebody is not unique. It is the story of billions worldwide, with hundreds of millions more in a far worse situation. All while BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, the three largest Wall Street firms in the world, buy up owning power in every single corporation, consolidating already dangerously centralized power to the tune of $22 trillion. A number which is hard to comprehend for even the most well-read accountant. This is not freedom, nor is it democracy. It is oligarchy, plain and simple, and we must call it out as such. These are times of great catastrophe. You don't need me or anyone else to tell you that. We all feel the overwhelming nature of the times we're in, the impossibility of the situation, and how fast we all are sinking. The cloud of apathy hovers over us all. This is a moment where we all need to ground ourselves in the courage of our ancestors, all the ancestors, those who fought for freedom wherever they found themselves, those who never conceded their spirit. It's time for us as the love warriors of the day to be love warriors. As we are told we are less than, we must proclaim that we are more. We must stand with our back up straight and our heart on fire. ready to face the dogs, the batons, whatever will be thrown at us, because we will never let our spirit die. Because we will never let our voice be quieted, because we are human beings of the toughest cloth and the will of thousands of years of oppressed people, ready to say enough. We cannot allow the life of the slave who never gave up, or the child who never saw the mountaintop, those with a radical love for all, their lives and their deaths to be in vain. We have to look within and deal with our own cowardice, a cowardice which causes us to make decisions based on whether or not it is safe, whether or not it will be liked by the oligarchy. Is it comfortable? The majority of us here in this world do not have the luxury of that decision. The Goliath, which is multinational corporations and the oil barons, pharma executives, prison executives, the oligarchs that run them, recognize that they are at an endgame, that there ain't much else in this world to slap concrete onto, that the drilling has destroyed the water, making it undrinkable for hundreds of millions, including people here in New Hampshire. And they know that there is only so much time left. They're squeezing the lemon one last time, and we cannot be the first generation to concede this fight. We have to be David, taking on Goliath with an orchestra of voices from all people, black, white, gay, straight, man, woman, whatever your gender, sexuality. This is a moment to revive a symphony of brotherhood which gave generations of people hope. A symphony of brotherhood which will take on a great evil and once again bringing forth a world of love, compassion, and justice for every single person in it. Unlocking the golden gates of justice and stepping into a new world for all of us. We're going to let freedom ring. Our horizon is right there, and one way or the other, I will see each and every single one of you at a promised land. Thank you all very much. Happy Juneteenth.
Jonah Wheeler.
I add nothing. Huh? Oh, I hear he's running for a state rep. Oh, nice. Good luck. I was going to say, actually, as he was speaking, I was thinking, man, this guy is gonna be president from New Hampshire at some point. So we have high hopes in you. Thank you. So as we are wrapping up, I want to thank everyone who joined us today, but I want to thank the committee that organized this event. Those who are organized this event, could you please come over? Come on. Andy, come on. I know you are on the team. Behind the scene, come on.
You want to see some dancing?
And then Dory, come on. So thank you so much for all the hard work you put into this. And I don't know if any of you has a final word. Yes.
I think you guys have all heard me speak enough, so I'm going to pass the mic to my left.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
No, I just want to thank these group of ladies for the amount of work that they do is incredible. They started back in February working on this event, and all the hard work that goes into it paid off today, so thank you very much.
So thank you. We'll see you next year.
Yes.
Thank you.